guys, welcome back to Crab Central Station. Today we're going to talk all about heat and humidity in our next Tat Chat, where we break down the basic needs of your hermit crab tank one thing at a time. Alright, so before we can get into the nitty and gritty of how to create the heat and the humidity, let's talk about why it's even important. So land hermit crabs live near the equator, most of them, and they live on beaches where it is naturally warm and humid. So we need to create that type of environment in our tanks for our hermit crabs. It's also really important for you to know that hermit crabs actually breathe through modified gills. They don't breathe oxygen the same way that we do or that a lot of animals do. And so the tank environment has to be humid for them to breathe. Without the correct humidity, you basically suffocate the hermit crabs over time, which is a lot of the time why we have to put them through the PPS or PPDS method, is to help them acclimate back to those humid environments so that their gills can heal, because low humidity in the pet stores have caused a lot of damage. And sometimes our crabs can't even overcome that damage, sadly. So this video is very important to help you guys figure out how to create that kind of environment. All right, we're going to address heat first.
Oh, hot, 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 hot! Hot, 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 hot!
While they do go hand in hand, you really have to have the heat to create the humidity. So we're going to start there. The best way to create a warm atmosphere in your tank is by using what's called a UTH, or under tank heater. And you can buy those at your normal pet stores, Petco and PetSmart, they sell them. You can order them online. We specifically always use Bean Farm. We love their heat mats. They come in all the different sizes that you could ever need to order. They're well made, great price, and probably the number one thing we love about them is that you can use packing tape to attach them to your tank. And then if you upgrade, which we always seem to be doing, you can take those heat mats down and use them again. The ones that you buy at the pet store typically have an adhesive back to them, and so once you stick those to your tank, they're a done deal. They have to stay on there, okay? So that's just our personal experience, but they both work the same and are equally good for your hermit crabs. So I know the name says under the tank heater, but for hermit crabs, we don't actually put them under the tank. Instead, we put them on the back wall of the tank. And the reason for that is because we want to heat the air in the tank, not the substrate itself. So again, think of that beach, right? We want to create this warm atmosphere while they're up on the sand, and we don't want to hurt them while they dig down and molt, which could happen if your heater is underneath the tank. They dig down all the way and then they're literally molting on top of a heat mat. So we don't want to do that. So the size part of the heat mat is important, and that is going to depend on your size tank. So you're going to take a heat mat, which is the entire length of your tank, or as close as you can get to the entire length, and you're going to place it right at the top of your substrate level. I know that seems kind of like a lot, but trust the process and trust us when we tell you from experience, it really takes that big of a heat mat to bring up the temperature in your tank to what you need for your hermit crabs. Okay, so something to just clear up. I'm sure as you've done some research out there, you maybe have read something about using heat lamps to heat your tank. And let me tell you why we do not suggest that. A heat lamp, it's like a globe, and they sell special light bulbs that specifically, are high wattage for heat, and they're usually in your reptile section. They are designed to heat a direct area. And we don't want that in our hermit crab tanks because it creates hot spots and they can burn themselves, and of course that would not be good. And it doesn't do a good job of heating up the entire environment in the tank, which is what we want to do for hermit crabs. So do not get heat lamps. They will not accomplish what you need, and they are harmful to the crabs themselves. So there is some things that you can do to regulate your heat mats, and we use these on all of our tanks. They are thermostats, and they're great because they take all the worry out of your heat. You can never overheat your tank with your thermostat. You set it to the desired heat, and it automatically turns your heat mat on or off depending on the heat in the tank, and so it just makes life a whole lot less stressful on you. All right, so now that we have heat out of the way, let's talk about humidity and how you're going to create that kind of humid environment like the beach inside of your tank. So there are three main things that play a huge role in creating the right humidity environment in your tank. First of all is what we just talked about, heat. Second is an entirely enclosed tank. Now, I know we've had some questions, and we ourselves have read things online where people are just really concerned about an enclosed tank. And let me tell you that that's actually what your hermit crabs need. They need that kind of humidity. When you go in your tank to change out their food or their water or just tidy up the tank, there's getting enough oxygen and movement within the tank at that time, and all other times you really need it to be completely sealed. So a lot of aquariums come with a mesh lid, and of course that's going to let all your humidity escape right out the top, and so we're going to have to fix that right away. Now, a quick way to fix it would be just wrap it in saran wrap or press and seal. You could also have a piece of plexiglass cut to go over the top, or regular glass, or our preference is to just replace the mesh lid altogether with a glass lid that fits your aquarium. You can get it cut from someone in town, a glass maker, or you can order them online often, and so there's lots of choices out there. But it's up to you what you feel is going to be best in your situation. The third thing that plays a role in the humidity is going to be your water pools. And we know that hermit crabs need two kinds of water pools, freshwater and saltwater. And the size of those water pools and the movement of the water play a big role in humidity. So what temperature or humidity do we even need in our crabitat? That's a really good question. So for purple pinchers, which are really the most common species of hermit crab here in America, you are looking to have your tank in a range of 75 degrees Fahrenheit to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and your humidity will be the same, 75% to 85% humidity in your tank. Now, just like nature fluctuates, sometimes you will see that fluctuation in your tank. So long as you're between 75 and 85, that's the safe zone for your hermit crabs. Now, personally, we have noticed that if we can keep our tanks closer to the 80 to 85% humidity and 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, that our crabs tend to be a little bit more active. So that's really what we aim for. So what about your exotic hermit crabs? They really need a higher heat and higher humidity, and so you need to keep that towards the 85% humidity and 85 degrees Fahrenheit pretty consistently because they live in warmer climates with higher humidity. And so that's going to be really important if you have an Ecuadorian or any of those other more exotic species. How are we going to monitor what our heat and humidity is? Well, you're going to need to purchase a gauge. And you're definitely going to need one that monitors both heat and humidity. We personally like to use digital gauges because they're more accurate. The analog ones are okay if that's all you can find, but they're really known for being inaccurate, and we've just found that we prefer the digital ones. Now, where you want to keep your gauge is as close as possible to the middle of your tank. Again, that's because we want to be monitoring the entire environment of our tank. We don't want hot spots. We talked about that with the heat lamp. And so get it to the middle of your tank and off the substrate just a little bit. We usually just get a small container, we turn it upside down, and then we set our gauge on top of that little container. So unfortunately, with digital gauges, you do have to do something called calibrate them. It's just a little bit of work. It's not too hard. I'm going to teach you guys right now what you need to do. So order your digital gauge. We get ours from Walmart usually, but Home Depot carries them and things like that. We'll put links in the bottom for you guys. All right, so get a Ziploc bag or like a Tupperware container that has a lid. It has to be able to close. And you're going to put your digital gauge inside that Ziploc bag or inside that container. Then just get a disposable water bottle, Ozarka or something like that. Take the cap off. You're going to use the cap, pour in some regular old table salt, and then drizzle just a little bit of water to make that salt kind of moist. You don't want it to be so much water that your salt is dissolving. And so it just takes a few drips in there and kind of stir it up a little bit so it's slushy, not soggy. Hopefully that helps. Anyways, you take that little cap and you're going to place it inside the Ziploc bag with your gauge or inside the little container with your gauge and seal it completely. Okay, press on that top of your container or zip up that bag. Now don't touch it for 24 hours. So after the 24 hours, go back to your Ziploc bag or your container and look at the humidity part of your gauge. If it reads 75% exactly, then your gauge is all set and ready to go in your tank. However, the majority of the time they're off just a little bit, either too much or too little. So what that means, for example, let's say when you go to look at your gauge, it says 72% humidity. That means when you put it in your tank, you will have to always add 3 degrees to the humidity. So if your tank is on your gauge is reading that it is 78% humidity, you would add 3. So that would actually be 82% humidity in your tank. If when you go to check your gauge, maybe it's more than 75%, maybe it's 77%, okay? Then you're gonna have to subtract 2 once you get it in your tank. So if your tank, again, if it's reading 78% humidity, then you would have to subtract 2, and the actual humidity in your tank is 76. I hope that's helpful, guys. If not, please feel free always to ask us questions, and we'll be happy to troubleshoot with you. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, give us a like, comment down below, follow us on all of our social medias, and until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye.